Hello passengers, Trainboy 10 here, and today is Halloween. And to celebrate the spooky season, I'm gonna be watching Thomas's Halloween Adventures. That's right, this is no joke, I'm just kidding. Yeah, obviously, I mean if you, read the title of the video and saw the thumbnail, yeah, we're watching Percy's Ghostly Trick. The audio is so muffly. And unlike most releases, we actually start off with a song. And when you hear that whistle, it can only be one train. Our favorite little engine, Thomas is his name. Thomas the Tank Engine rolling along. All of his friends will be coming along. Thomas, we love you. There's Gordon and Henry, Edward, James and Toby, Annie and Clarabelle. Don't forget Percy. He's always up to mischief, that cheeky little train. He chuffs everywhere, he's always playing games. The fat controller scolds him, but loves him just the same. You know, I just remembered now, they use this song in, pretty much every VHS or DVD promo in America. Or I think of that one video promo. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, American fans. That's so creepy. Something I would like to bring up is, two things actually. This was an episode on the greatest stories, which I had. I think I remember seeing this episode, but that's not what I was gonna mention.
Your ghost, said Percy next morning.
When they when they say Percy told his driver the next morning, yeah, in the original master, yeah, it's accurate because it's daytime, but in the restored version, it's nighttime for some reason. And I had only known about the restored version, so, I always thought it was a goof that it was why does he say the next morning if it's nighttime?
Lime flew everywhere.
When they call the powder lime, I always thought of the fruit. I know now it's supposed to be limestone powder, though the episode doesn't clarify that, so I didn't know that.
I've just seen something, said Toby. It looked like Percy's ghost. It said it was coming here to warn us.
I feel like people might say that line delivery might sound not convincing. But then Toby is technically supposed to be faking it here, so I think it works.
Let me in! Wailed Percy.
God, that music is still so chilling. Yeah, there's a reason this was on the greatest stories, and this was a great pick for that. They released this episode, they re-released this episode so many times in America. And for good reason. It's a great one. It's one of the best. Oh yeah, I do find it kind of weird how they use Edward's whistle for the ghost whistle. I find that kind of weird.
Anyone would think, chuckled Toby, that our Thomas had just seen a ghost.
Also another random observation, does anyone know why they put a reverb on the word ghost?
At this time of year, Percy stops where they have been cutting. The men load up his empty wagons and he pulls them to the station.
What happened here? Why is the soundtrack the soundtrack sounds so distorted? Why? What happened here? That's so weird.
Your ugly fizz is enough to frighten anyone, said Thomas. You're ugly indeed. I'm Green Caterpillar with red stripes, continued Thomas firmly. You crawl like one, too. I don't. Who's been late every afternoon this week? It's the hay. I can't help that, said Thomas. Time's time, and Sir Topham Hatt relies on me to keep it. I can't if you crawl in the hay till all hours. Green Caterpillar indeed, fumed Percy, as he set off to collect some hay to take to the harbor.
So, hit era. What makes Thomas and Percy best friends? I mean, it makes no sense why Percy bounced like that, but I don't know why I kind of like that. Oh yeah, look, you can see the camera in the mirror. Wait, what's that? What, is that a blue thing? What's that blue thing there? Oh yeah. Yeah, this episode. Do I have a lot to say about this one afterwards? Ugh. I hate the yellow filter. Oh yeah, I used clips from this in my Series 3 color corrected video. I'll leave a link in the description and a card in the top right corner if you're interested, if you haven't seen it already. This is probably unintentional, but you notice that little white outline around Thomas's wheel there? I know it's probably from the snow, but I don't know, I find it aesthetically pleasing. I have no idea why. I guess it reminds me of American engines. Oh yeah, look, there's the little, again, the little control tower there in the background. Yeah, I do wonder how Percy was able to turn around, but like, that's very nitpicky.
At last, they reached the village. Harold was all
the only reason I remember that shot of Thomas there was because it was in the song Winter Wonderland. I'm just remembering this now. I made a whole short based on this episode.
You know, why didn't Britt and David just make a Thanksgiving exclusive episode just for the US? Kinda like what they did with Thomas and the UK trip that was exclusive just for Japan. After all, it would be in the same season. Maybe budget reasons, since they couldn't make the Flying Scotsman. I guess that makes sense.
Percy, I've just remembered. Your mail train is still back at the site.
I really like that ditty there. That was so... I don't know, it's a very magical ditty, I guess. And now the music and sound effects are out of sync. Yay. Wait, notice how there's only 6 berths, like 6 tracks, right? And now there's like 8 of them. Wait.
The engines whistled in delight, and everyone agreed that it was a really happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, totally did not notice the shot just freeze frame there. And now we're on to a fan favorite episode. I really like that added opening to the episode. Yeah, it definitely feels like a proper setup, and I think you could see Oliver's face kind of behind that tanker.
When?
Noticeable jump cut. The yellow filter looks especially bad at night. I hate this. This looks awful. Wait. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is just the Tidmouth Station set, right? What is this Topham model? Like, why does he look so evil? I know that probably wasn't the intention, but that's just what it looks like.
If it wasn't for his help,
Oliver will say,
I might have been caught when I ran away from the scrapyard, and I would never have come to live here on Sir Topham Hatt's railway.
I want to play a side-by-side. Did George Carlin use, that Brooklyn accent for Scruffy too?
Well, I'm Oliver, and I'm with my brake van Toad. We've run out of coal and have no more steam. Hold back,
whispered Scruffy.
and pass the word to the others.
Why is this sped
He's
up?
right.
I remember when I got back into Thomas back in 2018, this was an episode that I remember watching on YouTube. And they used a lot of these shots for the music video Troublesome Trucks, which I love. Why is the framing so low? Like his driver's... Yeah, this driver definitely broke his tailbone.
Donald and Douglas will miss their turntable until it is mended.
Oh yeah, that's another thing I never really understood was that, something that I never understood was that they say that the turntable needed to be mended, but it doesn't look like any damage was done. But in the original book story, which I learned about years later, it does make more sense since Oliver actually did hit the turntable and knock it out of place or something. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense in the adaptation.
A few days later, Oliver did come back. His coat gleamed brighter than ever.
Yeah, that's a beautiful shot, at least when it's color corrected. And then we're just gonna completely ignore Toad Stands By until next season.
Percy and Duck like working at the harbor by the sea. On a clear summer's night, there's no better place to be.
I did always find it strange that, why do they just reuse the viaduct theme for the harbor? I mean, it doesn't... Oh, wait, was that Birdie? You could see Birdie in the background. I still like this, the remix of the theme. I just find it strange how they just reuse an existing piece of music for this.
Certainly. I can land on ships, you know. Anywhere,
Ooh,
anytime.
what was that? Like it's like the frame just like
Went
shifted
on
slightly.
talking about
That
all
was
day.
weird. This episode is going by so fast. Oh, there's Percy! I never noticed him
Soon
there
it was
before.
steaming
Like,
well,
I would hear
wheels were
Percy's whistle,
thundering
I'm like,
along the track.
where is he?
You look splendid flying along the line, Duck, glowed Birdie.
Oh
No
my
wonder
god,
they call you
again, the
Great
frame.
Western. Engines are happiest when their wheels are firmly on the rail.
Frame, stop shifting. I didn't edit that. That's just
Percy
how
and
it
Duck
is.
stayed.
Cue the TUGS ending theme. That was great. That... It's already over. How? How? How is it over already? Yeah, I can definitely see why people would consider this a favorite VHS or DVD because, yeah, that was great. Again, it flew by. I mean, that's not really a criticism, but still, it just feels like these go by too fast sometimes. So yeah, instead of an episode, we start with the music video. And technically, when this VHS was first released in 1994, well, this was the first video to feature a song. Or at least, like, technically the official version. I mean, there are some copies that don't feature the song and instead feature Thomas and the Missing Christmas Tree, which is an episode that I'll look at another day. Thomas's Anthem, just for the first Thomas and Friends music video ever made, it's a great song. I love Thomas's Anthem. It's a song that, play an instrumental, I can sing the entire song by heart. I know all the lyrics. I remember listening to this song for the first time and I loved it. It was an amazing song. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say, so I'll just move on to the episodes. Percy's Ghostly Trick. And it is a great episode. I love this episode. Again, it deserved a spot on the greatest stories, and I'm glad it was chosen. I know people have talked about this episode to death. The spooky visuals, like the fog effects, like for this technically being the first spooky episode of the show, they came in fine style. This was, yeah, it's just a great episode. Like the fog effects, the music, yeah, the titular Ghost Train theme, it's genuinely scary. It still gives me chills to this day. Both narrators do a great job with this episode. It's basically the Flying Kipper equivalent of Series 2, where its visuals and atmosphere is nowhere else in the season. It's just exclusive to that episode. I feel like I don't really have much to say on this one. It's great visuals, great music, great narration, just, yeah, great everything. I mean, just to avoid rambling, I'm gonna move on. Woolly Bear is an episode I don't really have much to say on. I do like how, in the book that both Ghost Train and Woolly Bear are in, which is Tramway Engines, I like how, I feel like that, like, the demonstration of, like, Toby's character in both episodes is great, because in Ghost Train, Toby was working with Percy to scare Thomas. He joined along in Percy at laughing at Thomas. But then in Woolly Bear, Percy makes a fool of himself, and then Toby joins in Thomas and laughing at him. Yeah, it's a great demonstration of Toby's character. He doesn't pick sides. He's a chaotic neutral, as the unlucky Tug says. Yeah, I wish I had more to say, but it's not as great as Ghost Train, in my opinion, but it's still a good one. Don't get me wrong, it's still a good episode. Yeah, let's move on to Thomas and Percy's Mountain Adventure, or Thomas and Percy's Christmas Adventure if you're a British fan. Yeah, I said I would have a lot to say on this one, and yeah, where do I begin? I might as well first talk about the negatives with this one because obviously in the UK dub the holiday celebrated was Christmas, whereas in the US dub it's Thanksgiving. And I'm sure all of you know why this is the case, but for those of you who don't know, well, I'll quickly explain. When Thomas was airing on Shining Time Station, there was an episode about Thanksgiving, and of course they would want a Thanksgiving episode to correlate with the Thanksgiving theme of the Shining Time episode. The problem was that Thomas was a British show, and in the UK they don't celebrate Thanksgiving, and so there were no episodes in Thomas about Thanksgiving. So what they did was that they retroactively turned a Christmas episode into a Thanksgiving one. And now thanks to that one change, this episode is completely screwed up in America. Yeah, I feel like that was just such a stupid decision to make. There are other episodes in the show that I feel like they're not necessarily about Thanksgiving, but they have themes of being thankful or being grateful. There are at least 3 episodes I can think of. One is Saved from Scrap. I feel like Trevor would be eternally grateful for Edward giving him a second chance at life. And speaking of that brings me to the second option, Toby the Tram Engine, or Thomas Breaks the Rules. Either of those 2 episodes, or you could show both episodes where Sir Topham Hatt gives Toby a second chance at life when his railway closes down. Or the third option is an episode that I personally would have picked and I think fits the best. It's an episode on this DVD, by the way, and it's All at Sea. I'll talk more about that when I get to that episode. I feel like that's an episode that I feel like could have fit perfectly. I'd like to bring up another Shining Time Station episode to point out what I'm talking about. There was an episode about Valentine's Day, and the episode they showed was Thomas, Percy, and the Mail Train. Now you're probably wondering, what does that have to do with Valentine's Day? Well, it doesn't really. They play the Thomas story near the very beginning of the episode, where it's since it's Valentine's Day, people are going to be receiving a lot of Valentine's Day presents, and the mail train would be very essential in delivering all of those things. And Mr. Conductor recounts a time when the mail train was nearly scrapped on Sodor. They didn't retroactively change Thomas, Percy, and the Mail Train to be about Valentine's Day because they kept it the same exact story. They didn't change anything to make it work with the Shining Time Station episode. They should have done something similar here. You just write a Shining Time episode around Thomas and Percy's Christmas adventure. Have the Shining Time episode take place at Christmas. So that way it makes sense. Or again, if you want to write an episode about Thanksgiving, then use a different episode. Again, All at Sea. Use that episode, please. Or if you still want to use Thomas and Percy's Christmas adventure, here's what you do instead. This is something the Unlucky Tug suggested too, was that you just have George Carlin narrate 2 versions of the episode. You have him narrate one version with all the Christmas stuff for home media releases, then you have him narrate another version with all the Thanksgiving stuff exclusive to Shining Time Station. Or again, use a different episode. It's just so complicated for no reason. And the troubles don't even end there, because there was a scene where Thomas and Percy talked about Santa Claus in the UK dub, which, since in the US dub it's about Thanksgiving now, that scene wouldn't make any sense. So what they did instead was that they just cut out the whole scene. And now, the narration's in sync with the footage, but the music and sound effects aren't. So in this close-up of Toby, you just hear chuffing sounds when he's not moving. But then if you watch this episode on the Thomas's Christmas Wonderland VHS, the episode,
Percy, I've just remembered. Your mail train is still back at the siding, isn't it? Percy hurried back to fetch it. Just then, Toby arrived with Henrietta. We've brought lots of hot drinks and food for the villagers, he whistled.
The music and sound effects are now in sync, but now the narration is out of sync. And so, at the end, near the end of the episode, you have George Carlin say, "This was a very happy Thanksgiving."
The engines whistled in delight, and everyone agreed that it was a really happy Thanksgiving.
And then you play the "We Wish You Had a Merry Christmas" song. Since the dubbing track wasn't cut in the original version, well, the "We Wish You Had a Merry Christmas" song doesn't play. It's just a hot mess that could be easily fixed. It's just there is no proper US dub of this episode. It's no matter which version you watch, it's gonna be out of sync. It's gonna be screwed up in some way. I know the UK dub still exists, and if I want to watch the Christmas version, I can just watch that. I still think that this episode is still really good. Some people have said that this is the best Christmas episode. I still think it's good, but I feel like I have more attachment to Thomas's Christmas party and Thomas and the Missing Christmas Tree, and I think part of that is nostalgia bias since I had the Thomas's Snowy Surprise DVD, which featured those 2 episodes. Yeah, I really like how in this episode, Thomas and Percy, everyone is putting their differences aside to help the village, help the mountain village, and that's really nice. And the fact that the villagers go out of their way to surprise all the engines the next morning, that's just really sweet. I still really enjoy this episode regardless of, well, one, the yellow filter and the weird editing mistakes, Mountain Adventure is still a good episode, don't get me wrong. Okay, I think I've talked about this episode long enough, let's move on. Escape. I might as well talk about Escape and Oliver Owns Up together, I guess. I think Escape, everyone's talked about this episode too, it's a fan favorite. The only real negative I see with this episode is, well, the yellow filter. That is literally the only issue. And even then it's color corrected for you, so yellow filter aside, I still really like this episode. It's definitely one of the best. Something else I really like, a detail that I really like how Oliver looks rusty. I feel like that detail, you could infer a lot from this. You could have inferred that maybe Oliver was poorly maintained, he wasn't taken care of, and maybe he like started his journey like this, or maybe he's been sitting there for months. I also really like kind of like, you know, like all of these like kind of purple spots on Oliver's face. It kind of looks bruised. It just looks like he's been through a lot, like he's had a rough time trying to get to Sodor. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about this episode than what's already been said. But yeah, I want to talk about Oliver's character arc. Oliver kind of takes the biggest gamble of his life, you know, trying to get to the island of Sodor to avoid being scrapped. And with the help of Douglas, he was able to do that. And then when the other engines praise him for his bravery and courage, and then Oliver just letting that get to a smoke box, like to the point where just Oliver thinks that he's perfect, he doesn't make any mistakes, he's flawless, when in fact he isn't. And yeah, when the other engines try to warn Oliver about the trucks, well, he doesn't listen because he thinks he's flawless, he thinks he can handle them fine, but he can't. And, you know, Oliver is humiliated horribly, and then Toad stands by as like the epic conclusion where Oliver just reclaims his throne. I feel like that, you know, like the audience could look up to Oliver as a really flawless character, but everyone is flawed in their own way, even the ones that seem the most invincible. And that's something that I'm sure that all of us can appreciate. All at Sea is a great episode. Like if they wanted an episode that related to Thanksgiving or being grateful, they should have chosen this episode. Duck dreams about wanting to see what's beyond the horizon, but he's a steam engine stuck to his rails and he physically just can't go. Percy tries to tell him that, but Duck just doesn't listen. He just continues to daydream, and it's only when Duck realizes like the benefits of being a steam engine when a man injures his hand. A quick side note here, why specifically injuring his hand? That still sounds painful to me, but like, why not like injure his leg or something? I don't know. But anyway, you know, Harold earlier being able to just casually tell Duck, I get to go beyond the horizon all the time. I feel like Harold was more so stating that as like, maybe he was saying it so casually because that's true, like it's a matter of fact. Like he is able to do that because that's his responsibility, that's his job as a rescue helicopter. Yeah, I feel like that Harold like wasn't trying to boast to Duck or anything. He was just trying to be matter of fact with this statement. Just watch this video by Usual Bloke Luke, that it perfectly explains everything. So yeah, I'll leave a link in the description and a card in the top right corner if you're interested. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10. I think I still prefer Special Letter over this one. Even though I'm giving it a lower score, I still think it's great. Like, it's still one of the best, don't get me wrong. I'm sorry, I just love Season 4, okay? So, of course I'm gonna put the Season 4 DVD over a mostly Series 3 one. Yeah, make sure to subscribe, click the notification bell so you don't miss the train for the next video. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a great day.